Okay, so we're going to look at a video from Barnabas Nagy, this gentleman here, and he's going to talk about the mud flood church. He's just basically explained where the church is, but let's go back and have a quick, let's jump in there and let's see what he's saying.
I wanted to make a video of this. So this is a old map of Omaha, Nebraska in 1868, right? 1868 or 1888. I'm not sure. It's probably 1868. But
okay, so the church is in Omaha, Nebraska, and let's just jump forward to what he's going to talk about. So basically, they're going to talk about this church here, St. Mary Magdalene. Now, this photo he's going to look at is a bit of an enigma if you look into this whole thing, because it seems to be the only photo you can find of the west side of the building before they start the work. And as we can see just here, it looks like there's some windows, which it is windows. And that's because the church is built into or on a slope. So if you see on this side, it's so the slope's going that way. So there's actually a bit of an indentation. I can actually pull this across here and show you. Okay, so this is the front of the church, and you see like that. And here is a small area, which is probably the basement, which is the basement, basically. Now, we'll look into later on in this video why you would build a building like this and why part of it would be underground and part of it wouldn't be underground, all to do with buildings on a slope, which most people who study the mud flood don't seem to understand. But we'll go into that a little bit later on. So this photograph here seems to be the only picture of the west side of the building, and before they start the work. And so there are these little squarish windows, as you can see. And that's because, like I just said, is that it's on a slope. So part of it is here, like this section here is underground. So you have these little windows. Okay, but anyway, let's go back and listen to what the conspiracy theory is.
church that we are talking about, the St. Mary Magdalene, I guess. It's cool where you can see these mud flood windows under the ground. So that's already very suspicious. And we are told that actually there was some sort of cyclone that created a lots of damage like that, and that's apparently the effect of the cyclone. And then they started to dig, and they wanted to dig out the whole church to make the streets level. So this is the work that they've done there. And here's another one.
So I'm going to pause it right here. This picture here, actually, we'll go back to it, but disproves everything this gentleman's about to say. But anyway, let's carry on.
So quite a bit of mud and earth, soil going out. Again, some machinery and people working. Again, the same thing.
Get to the point, man.
And then we come to this, right?
Here we go.
So this is the church that they have created, the street level that they created after the digging. So you can see this is where the level was, and you actually see this is darker, and this is kind of like this was the dug out level here. You can see that this is quite much lighter in color, and these were the windows that were actually under the ground. I think we saw the other side where there were just some tiny windows looking out, but this was the whole thing was actually underground. So you can see these windows were underground, this was underground, and this door was underground, and the door from the other side was about here, okay, this level. This was where it was going up and entering this. So that's quite a bit of...
Okay, this is where he goes way offline. What they did is that there was, in this town, Nebraska, there was quite an incline for the people who lived there to walk up. And if you research it, people were leaving They were leaving the town because it was just a pain in the arse, I suppose. So they bought out a whole bunch of buildings. They knocked them down. They then, I suppose, they decided that this St. Mary Magdalene Church was worth saving. So what they did is that they dug out the mud from beneath it and removed the basement layer, which was already there, a small basement layer, and then built a new basement layer to extend the church out. Well, it's not, you couldn't really call it a basement layer. They've built a new ground layer here. Okay, so that was the old ground level here. All right, and this is the new ground level once they've dug it all out. Now, the thing that's absolutely amazing about all of this is that remember that picture I showed you before? One of the pictures that they use to prove this is, and it's in this section, is this one. Now, as you can probably see, this alone debunks everything they're saying and everything this gentleman is about to say. So we can see clearly through this dig out in the dirt here that we can see straight to the other side. And here we can see here's the bottom of the church, and there's nothing beneath it. It's hanging, this part is hanging off the edge. So here we can see all the way through, and here this part is hanging off the edge. There's nothing there, there's just dirt, okay? And here they have built an extra level, a basement level, okay? Okay, let's go back to our gentleman and see what he has to say.
Door was underground, and the door from the other side was about here, okay, this level. This was where it was going up and entering this. So that's quite a bit of mud. As you can see, it's like 1 person height, 2 person height, 3.5 person height.
Okay, so we can see the glaring mistake he's just made. What's your name again? Barnabas. You can see the mistake you just made. Okay, you assume what Barnabas assumes is that this was above the ground and this was below the ground, and this is clean like this because it was covered by mud, and this is dirty because all the cars and environment made it dirty. But as I just showed you in this picture here, we can clearly see that at some point during digging all this mud out, there is nothing beneath this. There is nothing there. Well, that I can assume, because this picture up here can be quite confusing. This one, back this one here, right? Because you can see here, out the way, you can see here, there are some windows. Okay, and then if we come down here, those windows seem to be gone. Okay, now all that I can assume is that they have taken away a lower part of this level, or the old part of the basement. Well, it's there really, but they've taken away part of it. And it used to be, because on this side there was less mud, on this side more mud, because of the incline. Okay, some windows here, but we can clearly see at this point of the digging out the mud, there is nothing here. It's hanging off the edge. So they must have then added this. Okay, built it. This is what these gentlemen are doing here. And then on this west side again, they have built all these other layers. Okay, now let's go back to our video.
It's interesting to see that you can actually see a different structure here as well. So here's the level kind of where the mud was, and you can see that this is a little bit different to this kind of building. It's also lighter, so I guess they did some work here as well. So I think that is quite much of an evidence for this. Again, some work being done here. And this is the old church. I'm just showing you some pictures. This is again after the mud removed, but not before the concrete laid down for the street. But as you can see, it's like 2 levels, basically 2 or 2.5 levels were actually buried in the mud. So that's quite a deep mud, honestly. You can see again.
So you hear the statement there: 2.5 levels buried in the mud. A completely false statement. Now, this mud flood thing is interesting, and it's about as interesting as nearly all the conspiracy theories out there. But what we need to do, if you want to prove something, you can't take examples like this and then go through the pictures. He actually does go through that picture, and he kind of pauses a little bit, but doesn't say anything. Let's go back. Here he is here. So watch him get to this picture. Okay.
So this is the work that they've done there. And
here we go.
Here's another one.
Pause. What do I say?
So quite a bit of
talk about the
mud and earth, soil going out.
Okay, and completely gone past that. You see that? So something clicked in his brain, but obviously he's making a video, didn't want to say it. Okay.
Before the concrete laid down for this, obviously this is where the church starts. You know, like you can see that this pillar is where it's wider, so that's where it is like sitting on the ground. They are actually digging out more than what they need here on this side, I guess, because this is already looking like the cellar or the basement. But nonetheless, if you look at this picture after the reconstruction, this is crazy. It's obviously 2.5 levels dug out. And why was there mud? Well, obviously there was a mud flood.
Okay, so basically, like I said before, this is based on a complete misunderstanding of how you build buildings into slopes. I'm going to hopefully try and show you. Let's bring up the old Photoshop. 40 shop. So let's start off here. So let's have a slope like this. Okay. Now we want to build a building on this slope. Okay. Now you can't just get your building right, because you'll have two things here. Okay. There's your door. There's a window. There's another window. Sorry about this shit artwork. There's another window. Now, if you built your house like this on a slope, okay, the thing that you would have to do, well, number one, you would be there'd be a slope inside your house, and you have to walk uphill to go from one side of the living room to the other side of the living room. Yeah. Well, the other thing you would do is inside your house, you would build a floor across like that. Okay, but you'd be wasting a bit. All right. So the most obvious thing to do. Okay, let's get a massive. Right. So the obvious thing to do. Okay. So just bear with me. Right, let's Command Z that. Okay, let's try that again. Right, so let's draw our slope. Okay, now I want to build a house. So what do? I dig down and across and back up. And then what I do is I build my house in here. Okay, I'll get used to this at some point. Okay, and then let's carry our slope down like that. Okay, so you see what I've done is I've dug in to the ground, okay, and then I've leveled it like this. All right, so now here's my slope, okay, but my house is dug in like this. Now let's continue with our slope and draw it in like this. Okay, I'll probably be better to do this again actually and draw my house. Start that again. Now, most of the buildings that you see related to this mud flood thing, you will see there's like a first floor, and then beneath is like a basement level with windows sticking out. Again, this is all to do with slopes. So if we draw in let's get our little penny working here. Okay, so if we draw our building, see if I can do this any better. No, I can't. Like so. And then let's draw in a slope. Let's take it out. Let's continue it down here, like so. Okay, now with the church, is that on one side over here, we've got an almost ground level, which is the west side of the church. Okay, so let's draw in our ground level across here, like so. Okay, now on this side, well, they'll probably flatten the road out like this here. Okay, so let's get our eraser. This would be the side of the building. So let's put a window here, just to donate the side of the building. Okay, now you'll notice that, say like the ones in London, for example. Let's draw that slope in here like that. There might be a bit of a window sticking up here. Okay, and then the staircase is going down. The staircase is going down to that apartment. The door is here. And a lot of these apartments, if you go through to the back, okay, it goes into a back garden. And the reason is that it's on a slope. There's the front of the house. There's the back of the house. Okay, they've built into the slope like this. All right, like we showed you before. So if the slope continued, it would continue through here. Okay, but they've built the house in like this. All right. So when you look at it from the front, it looks like there's an upper level here, and a level which is hidden underground here. Okay, a level which is hidden underground here, but it's not. Okay, so let me just put on my mouse so you can see. Okay, so basically, what's happened is that the slope is going this way. This is the front. This is the back. Okay, and then you look at it and you go, oh look, there's some windows sticking out the bottom here. It looks like they're buried. No, it's because the slope is this way, like so. They've dug into it. They've built the house. Okay, and now the basement level, pretty much, is now the ground level. And so, as I said, if you walked from the front, went down the staircase, got into the front door, and then walked from the front door to the back, you'd be in a garden. You wouldn't be underground. And that's all because of the slopes. And this is just like our mud flood church. Right, so here's our mud flood church. Where's my little moosey thing here? Right. Okay, so this is the west side, and this is the north side. Have I got that right? Never eat shredded wheat. Never eat shredded wheat. Oh, yeah, got it. Right, so this is the west side here. This is the north side. Okay, as you can see, there's a slope this way. Then it's leveled out on this side here. But there's also, as you can see here, there's a slope, a slight slope going down. Now, what I want to show you is that on this side, we can see here. Let me get this back. We can see here there are windows under the ground. Now, the mud flood people will say that's because the mud flood came in and flooded them. No, it's because of this slope here. Let me get my little thingy back. Right, if you see here, let me make that a bit bigger actually. Come on. 18 pixels. Let's do 18 pixels. Let's change the color ever so slightly. Let's rock this up. Let's move into red. Okay, so here is our slope. Okay, so on this part of the building here, okay, so as we can see on this side of the building, it's higher above the ground. There's more of it above the ground in this side of the building. Okay, so like I told you before, you can see what they've done. Okay, they've dug in to the slope like so. Okay, they've dug in, and so this part of the building is above the ground, and this part is below the ground. These windows here are below the ground. Okay, now it's just to do with the slope. It's just to do with building buildings on slopes. Okay, like I've shown you before, they've dug into the ground, see here, and they've just leveled it inside, which means on this side, if I was to put an entrance, on this side, if I was to put an entrance, I'd have to put a staircase up to that entrance. Okay, but on this side, I wouldn't have to. People would just walk straight in. As you can see here, they can just walk straight in. But on this side, I have to put a staircase. On this side, some of the windows are obscured, but on this side, if there's windows, they would not be obscured. Building into slopes. That's your mud flood church. And then they dug this whole slope out, this whole area out here, and they built a few extra floors on the bottom, like that, okay, just to keep that church there and to sit on the new ground level.
Well, obviously there was a mud flood in Omaha, Nebraska. So, yeah, that's it about this church. I think it is quite an obvious evidence for the mud flood and the reset of the civilization. And hopefully we are going to figure out before the next comes what to do.
Okay, Mr. Barnabas. Not Mr. Barnabas, Barnabas. I hope you can see the error of your ways there. One of your photographs completely debunks exactly what you were talking about. Basically, what happened was there was a big slope at this church, and the people that lived there were annoyed with it because they had to keep walking up and down it all the time. So the local council, whatever you call it in America, they decided to go in and fix the slope and preserve this church by building a basement underneath it. No mud flood here.